Welcome back for another deep dive. You know how we're always searching for those little bits of wisdom?
Those insights that can help us navigate this crazy thing called life.
Exactly. Well, this time we're going right to the source. Robert Greene's The Daily Laws.
It's a treasure trove of practical advice presented as daily laws to live by.
Almost like a philosophical calendar for self-improvement, right?
Exactly.
And for this deep dive, we're focusing on three powerful themes.
Mastery.
The dynamics of power.
And finding meaning even when life feels like pure chaos.
Because let's face it, those are challenges we all face no matter what we do or where we are in life.
Absolutely universal.
So let's start with this idea Greene has about the life task. You know, that unique calling we each have.
Yeah, he believes we all have something we're meant to pursue.
And that we can often find clues to it in our childhood passions.
He actually uses his own story as an example.
I was reading about that. He had something like 60 jobs before he became a successful author.
Over 60! Everything from construction worker to hotel receptionist.
Talk about a diverse resume.
But it's fascinating how he eventually came full circle back to writing.
Back to that childhood passion.
Which just goes to show how persistent that inner drive can be.
Right, it's like it's always there, waiting to be unearthed.
Exactly. And it also highlights that finding your life task is often a journey, not a sudden epiphany.
More like a winding path with twists and turns.
You've got to be willing to explore different avenues before you hit that aha moment.
So it's more about following those threads of interest and seeing where they lead.
Precisely. And once you find that path, Greene is adamant that there are no shortcuts to mastery.
He's not a fan of the whole natural genius myth, is he?
Not at all. He's all about putting in the time and effort during what he calls the apprenticeship phase.
Because let's be real, overnight success is usually years in the making.
Filled with blood, sweat, and tears.
Greene actually points to figures like Napoleon as an example. He didn't just magically appear on the battlefield and dominate.
No, he was a master of deliberate practice.
It's like that 10,000-hour rule we've all heard about.
Exactly. Mastery isn't about some innate talent. It's about dedication and a willingness to learn.
And Greene uses this fantastic analogy of a piano to illustrate this.
At first, all you see are individual keys.
Black and white ivories.
But as you practice and learn, you start to see the relationships between them.
The chords, the scales.
And the instrument becomes an extension of yourself.
It's a beautiful way to put it.
You go from simply playing the piano to almost becoming the piano.
So it's not just about reaching a certain level of skill.
It's about continually deepening your understanding and connection to your craft.
Mastery becomes an ongoing journey.
A lifelong apprenticeship to the act of learning itself?
You're always learning, aren't you? It's never ending.
Absolutely. And that journey of learning and mastery often leads us to another key theme in Greene's work.
Power dynamics.
Precisely. He argues that a game of power is constantly being played in all aspects of life.
Whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. It's woven into our social interactions, our workplaces, even our personal relationships.
So it's not just about those big, obvious displays of power.
Yeah.
Like in politics or business.
Right. It's also about the more subtle, everyday interactions where influence is at play.
Like who gets to decide where we go for dinner?
Or who gets the last slice of pizza.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those little things can be just as revealing about power dynamics as the big stuff.
Greene actually presents 3 ways to approach this game.
Embrace it.
Deny it.
Or accept it.
And he's actually cautious about fully embracing it in a Machiavellian sense.
Yeah, because focusing solely on manipulation can backfire, right?
It often does. It overlooks the importance of cooperation and building genuine connections.
It's like trying to play a cutthroat game of chess when everyone else is playing a collaborative board game.
You might win a few battles, but you'll end up isolating yourself.
And on the flip side, denying the game altogether, while it might sound noble, can also be problematic.
You become a pawn in a game you don't even realize you're playing.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, that balance between naivete and ruthlessness.
Precisely. And Greene advocates for acceptance as the most strategic approach.
Acceptance. How so?
Accepting the reality of power dynamics allows us to observe the game, understand its rules,
And choose when and how to engage.
Exactly. It's about being aware without being controlled.
Makes sense.
Mm.
But Greene also talks about deception as a key element in this game of power. And honestly, that makes me a little uncomfortable.
I understand. It feels a bit slippery, doesn't it?
It does. Like, where do you draw the line?
Well, Greene's point isn't about encouraging dishonesty.
So he's not saying we should all become master manipulators.
No, not at all. He's arguing that deception in various forms is an inherent part of human interaction.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about things like white lies, social etiquette, even the way we present ourselves in different contexts.
It's all about putting our best foot forward.
In a way, yes. It's about strategic self-presentation.
Okay, that makes more sense.
One of Greene's laws that I find particularly insightful is never unintentionally disparage someone's intelligence.
Meaning?
It's about recognizing the delicate interplay between intelligence and ego.
Because if you make someone feel stupid, they're less likely to listen to you.
Exactly. Even if you have the best ideas in the world.
It's like that saying, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Precisely. By acknowledging someone's intellect, even if you disagree,
You create a more conducive environment for collaboration.
you disarm their defenses rather than putting them on guard.
This reminds me of a story Greene tells about Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, yes, the one with his rival in the Pennsylvania Assembly.
That's the one. So Franklin had this rival who was constantly opposing his initiatives.
They were always butting heads.
And instead of trying to outsmart or overpower him, Franklin took a different approach.
He appealed to his ego.
Exactly. He asked his rival for a favor, to borrow a rare book from his library.
And it worked.
The rival, flattered by the request, agreed. And from that point on, their relationship shifted.
The rival became one of Franklin's biggest supporters.
It's a perfect example of how appealing to someone's ego can be more effective than challenging it.
It's a subtle but powerful shift in perspective.
Instead of viewing power as a zero-sum game where one person wins and the other loses.
Greene encourages us to look for those win-win scenarios.
So it's not always about dominance and control.
Sometimes it's about understanding human psychology and using that understanding to navigate interactions more effectively.
It's like playing the game on a different level.
And that understanding of human psychology also extends to other forms of influence.
Such as?
Seduction and persuasion.
Wait, hold on. Seduction. Like romantic seduction.
Not necessarily, though the principles can apply there.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Think of it more broadly, the art of attracting and influencing others.
Capturing their attention.
And making them want what you want.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection.
What the tools Greene highlights is delaying satisfaction.
Making people wait for what they want.
Exactly. He uses the example of Napoleon, who was a master of this.
How so?
Napoleon rarely gave praise or reprimands.
So when he did, it meant something.
It made them all the more impactful. He kept his soldiers in suspense, always striving to earn his favor.
It's like the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder, but applied to leadership and motivation.
Exactly. It's about understanding the psychology of desire and using it strategically to achieve your goals.
Wow, that's fascinating. But all this talk of power and strategy can feel a little heavy sometimes. You know what I mean?
I do. It's easy to get caught up in the game.
And lose sight of what really matters.
Which brings us to another important concept in Greene's work.
Lay it on me.
Tactical hell.
Tactical hell. That sounds ominous.
It is. It's about those times when you feel completely bogged down by daily struggles.
When you're constantly putting out fires.
And losing sight of the bigger picture.
You're so focused on winning individual battles that you lose the overall war.
Exactly. A perfect description. I know that feeling all too well. Sometimes it feels like I'm just reacting to one crisis after another.
And you lose track of your goals and priorities.
It's exhausting.
That's tactical hell, in a nutshell. Greene uses the example of bickering couples to illustrate this.
How so?
They get so caught up in winning each argument.
That they damage the relationship in the process.
They sacrifice the long-term health of the relationship for short-term victories.
So how do we escape this tactical hell? How do we regain our perspective when we're feeling overwhelmed by the daily grind?
Greene emphasizes the importance of taking an elevated view of life.
Rising above the chaos.
Exactly. He encourages us to step back from the immediate situation and ask ourselves, are we truly engaged in a meaningful battle, or are we simply reacting to distractions?
Choosing our battles wisely.
Precisely. He also suggests that instead of dwelling on negative emotions,
we analyze them.
Right. Ask yourself, what's causing this feeling? What can I learn from it? How can I use this experience to grow?
So it's not about ignoring our feelings, but about understanding them. And one practical way to do this is to simply take a step back.
Before we react impulsively.
Exactly. Give yourself some space to breathe. Delay your response.
It's like hitting the pause button on our emotions.
So we can respond with more clarity and intention.
Greene even compares restraint to a muscle that gets stronger with practice.
The more we resist those petty distractions,
the more energy we have for the things that truly matter.
And that brings us to his final and perhaps most profound concept.
I'm all ears.
The cosmic sublime.
Cosmic sublime. Wow, that sounds, well, sublime.
It's about cultivating a sense of awe and wonder.
For what?
For the vastness of the universe and our place within it.
It's about shifting our perspective from the micro to the macro.
Recognizing that our everyday concerns are just a tiny blip in the grand scheme of
It's
things.
like we're so focused on the dust on the window that we miss the incredible view outside,
Another perfect analogy, he shares the example of Virginia Woolf, who found inspiration in the vastness of the sea.
which led to her writing to the lighthouse.
Exactly. It's not just about escaping the daily grind, but about finding those moments of awe that spark our creativity.
And give us a renewed sense of purpose.
Exactly. It's about connecting to something bigger than ourselves, something that transcends the everyday game.
It's really incredible how Greene manages to connect all these ideas.
Yeah.
You know, mastery, power, meaning. It's like a whole philosophy for living.
It really is. He has this amazing way of showing how these elements are intertwined.
And how understanding one can really shed light on the others.
Absolutely.
But one thing that stood out to me was his warning about getting too caught up in the game of power.
Yes, it's so easy to fall into that trap, isn't it?
It is. Especially once you start recognizing those patterns of manipulation.
You can become a bit too cynical, seeing it everywhere you look.
Like every interaction becomes a power struggle.
Every conversation, a negotiation.
And that can lead to a pretty bleak outlook on life, don't you think?
It can. It's important to remember that not everyone is out to get you.
Right. Just because power dynamics exist doesn't mean we can't have genuine connections.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, being aware without becoming jaded.
And that's where Greene's emphasis on meaning and perspective comes in, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Remember the cosmic sublime.
Yes. Connecting to something bigger than ourselves.
Transcending those everyday power struggles.
Like zooming out and remembering there's a whole universe beyond our little dramas.
Precisely. And that's where we can find that sense of awe and appreciation.
For the beauty of the world, the simple joys.
And the connections we share with others.
It's a powerful reminder that power dynamics don't have to define our lives.
We have a choice,
We can choose to focus on what truly matters.
Our passions, our values, our relationships.
And let those guide our actions instead of getting swept up in those petty power struggles.
It's a much more fulfilling way to live, don't you think?
Absolutely. It reminds me of that quote by Marcus Aurelius. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
It's about choosing to focus on the good.
And not letting negativity and cynicism drag us down.
Embracing both the light and the shadow.
Recognizing that both are part of the human experience.
Finding that balance and perspective that allows us to navigate the complexities of life.
With wisdom and grace.
And ultimately creating a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling.
A life where we can truly thrive.
That's the goal, isn't it?
It is. And Greene's The Daily Laws offers a really insightful roadmap for getting there.
It's a book I highly recommend to anyone seeking to live a more intentional life.
Well, this has been another incredible deep dive.
It has. We covered a lot of ground today.
From mastery to power dynamics to finding meaning in the midst of chaos.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Likewise. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey.
We hope you found it as insightful and thought-provoking as we did.
And remember, even small shifts in perspective can have a ripple effect on our lives.
So keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the vast ocean of knowledge.
Until next time.